Folks, no one gets married to get divorced. And yet, here I am. I never imagined my life unfolding this way. But looking back 5 years later, I didn't just experience a divorce. I went through what I can only describe as what I coined as the trifecta of collapse for me. It was threefold. I went through divorce. I went through the consequences of a midlife crisis, as well as the consequences of the global pandemic that started in 2020, all at the same time. And I need to clarify one thing before I go any further with this video. For the purpose of my channel, GBIC Relationship University, I speak only from my experience. I don't speak for my ex-wife. She has her own process, her own healing journey, and her own story to tell. This is my story. This is my truth. This was so much more than a divorce for me. My father died a rather tragic death right in front of me when I was a child. I talked about this in my Christmas video series a few videos back. Right in front of me. The funeral for him was on my 12th birthday, December 18th, a week before Christmas. And that was the most traumatic experience of my life until my divorce. The divorce became the second greatest loss I ever had to grieve. And yes, divorce is a form of grief. I would need to say here that anyone who tells you otherwise has never really lived through it honestly, in my opinion. There has to be some sort of cognitive dissonance at play if you are not acknowledging that divorce is a loss. Now, I am not saying that divorce is the same thing as a death, but it is a loss nonetheless. Divorce doesn't just mark the end of a marriage. It is a life-changing event that stirs deep emotions and mirrors the grief of losing a loved one. The distinction between divorce and death is the loss of the loved one while the loved one is still living. I've experienced a lot of losses. I have to grieve a lot of losses of relationships regarding people that are still walking, talking, and breathing on this earth over the past year of 2025. There's a great article blog that I came upon. It's called Upstream Counseling on the internet. They talk about coping with the 5 stages of divorce grief, a guide to healing. Understanding the 5 stages of grief can make the process less daunting and offer a roadmap to healing. Number 1, I went through all of these. Denial and shock. The initial disbelief can be overwhelming. Stop by acknowledging the reality of the situation to begin processing your emotions. Number 2, anger and blame. It is natural to feel anger during the divorce process. Channel it constructively through activities like journaling or physical exercise. Number 3, bargaining. Now, this stage may involve hopes of reconciliation. I went through all of this. But you find out when you know you're at the point of divorce, and I learned this through seasoned mentors in my life that were experienced members of the divorce process. And I asked them, how do you know when it's time to get divorced? They said, when all hope is gone. There is an exercise in futility. You have left no stone unturned in trying to keep the marriage together. All hope is gone. You have no hope left. That's when you know it's time to file the papers and start the paperwork. You focus on practical steps to rebuild your life rather than lingering. Keep going back and forth on what if only, and maybe, just one more time. Number 4, depression. Loneliness and sadness often surface here. I went through great loneliness and sadness. Seek emotional support from loved ones or consider therapy. Where would I be at this point in my life, on my life journey, without my therapist? Consider therapy to navigate this difficult time. And number 5, where I'm at in my journey today post-divorce, is acceptance. Reaching acceptance allows for healing. Embrace this stage as an opportunity to rebuild and find peace with the end of the relationship. Now, the grieving process of divorce is not cookie cutter. It is different for everyone. But one thing that is true and universal for everyone: divorce is an arduous, painstaking process. On any given day, I cycled through emotions that were relentless. Disappointment, guilt, shame, remorse, regret, embarrassment, anger, fear, frustration, anxiety, insecurity, loneliness, depression, and many more. And some days I'm just grateful that I was given the tools through therapy and through other avenues and arenas that I was able to at least identify the emotions so that I could go in the toolbox and grab some tools to be able to cope with all of these emotions that I was experiencing, running the gamut of all of these emotions. Sometimes on just one given day, I would run the whole gamut of emotions. Some days I carried myself with the utmost grace, class, elegance, and composure. And there were other days that I cried, kicked, screamed, and I tried to escape the pain, sometimes through behaviors that I knew were self-destructive. I earned my gray hairs. I knew they were self-destructive, but they were behaviors that I also knew would suppress my pain, at least for the moment. This is what they don't talk about in terms of that instant gratification and filling the huge void in your spirit. It was Homer Simpson on The Simpsons that I heard say, alcohol, the solution and the cause of all of my problems. I thought he was so profound when he said that. And at the end of the road, I could identify with Homer Simpson. I found myself in some jackpots as a result of my quest to suppress the pain through alcohol and drugs, because substances had always been my Achilles heel. I had always cycled through months of sobriety at a time. It is my story, then in my testimony, then a trigger. Then I'd be in a trance. And then I'd be off on a binge. Not for pleasure, but for the escape. What was I always escaping from over the course of my adult life? The vicissitudes of life, the trials and tribulations of this thing called life. These are some of the questions that I had to find the answers to and operate in the solutions in order to continue to grow and evolve, especially post-divorce. This periodic binging post-divorce went on in different forms for about 3 years. That's not a confession asking for sympathy. But I'm just keeping it 100 with you. I know I'm not the only one. And it may not have been drugs and alcohol for you. But, whatever your flavor was, it may have been something else. That's the part that people don't like to talk about. That's that messy stuff. But I can be very honest and candid and transparent about my struggles. Because take it from me, it only takes one drug and alcohol-induced bad decision to alter the entire trajectory of your life. How I got over. Thank you to the Most High God. So I am here to tell you, get through your divorce process. If you're watching this video and you're going through your divorce process, whoever you're on the brink of it, or you're in the midst of it, or you're in the post-divorce process, get through your divorce process experience without trying to suppress it with any mind or mood-altering substances. I tell you that your overall health and well-being will be so much better for it. One thing that my ex-wife and I did we managed to do very successfully. I'm so grateful for this. We were supposed to have our divorce finalized. I told you about going through the divorce in the midst of the pandemic. We were supposed to have our divorce finalized in March of 2020. But the court, I was sitting there watching the news. Please don't shut down the court. They were shutting down everything else as I was watching the news. Please don't shut down the courthouse. Please don't. No, don't shut down the... they shut down the court. Oh, my God. The court shut down approximately 1 week before our divorce was supposed to be finalized due to the pandemic. All court probate cases were postponed indefinitely. As per orders of the court, no one could make any major financial moves because that would violate all pending negotiations in the pending terms of the divorce decree. We were still living together during our divorce process, though we were living in separate units of the home. It was painful. We were living like we were basically fellow tenants. It was especially painful. Excuse me. I think about it. It still cuts me. Excuse me. Still cuts me. When I think about it, we got through the divorce process as classy though as two people could in enduring the divorce process. We reduced our circle of involvement with society as a whole while we were thrusted in this house together. We limited our support network to our counselors and people who had actually been through divorce. Now look, you don't just consult someone who has never been married about divorce. Those people who have never been married, they don't know the cost, the grief, or the rebuilding that comes after divorce. There was no social media bashing. No public airing of grievances. No overt or covert jabs at each other publicly. No forming tribes online at all. We made a conscious effort to keep it classy and dignified. And in a world that is so addicted to the drama and chaos that surrounds a couple's divorce, that was a huge deal for us. And it went against the grain of the societal norms. But we were still stuck together. living together until the end of the divorce process because of all of the everything that was going on during the pandemic. Now the courts, they finally opened up, albeit virtually, about 6 months later. So we were finally able to get a virtual hearing. And the judge finally granted us the divorce in September 2020. And my wife, she moved out in the beginning of October. Now, during her move, I made myself scarce. I left the apartment at that time. I stayed at a hotel for a few days while she was moving out. I just could not bear to be there while she was moving. Folks, I just couldn't bear it. It was above and beyond the call of what one person should have to bear. I came back home. I waited a few days. Then I went upstairs into the totally empty apartment. I walked down the long hallway. I stared at the square shadows where all the art paintings were once mounted. I heard the echo of my own footsteps as I hesitantly walked down the hallway and opened doors to empty rooms. It was painful. Though we had been officially divorced for about 3 weeks, the finalization of our forfeited union really at that time started to hit me. It really started to set in. I wiped away, I remember, like it was yesterday, I wiped away just a single tear that started streaming down my face. And again, it was my own voice that whispered through my spirit, she's gone. They're gone. And they're never coming back. It really hit me that her, the kids, and the grandkids were really gone. And they were gone for good. Before the pandemic, I at least had church as my support system. I at least had my 12-step program. I tell you my struggles with addiction over the years. But those spaces were also interconnected with our shared life, so they could no longer serve as neutral support. I was totally alone. Nobody was coming to save me. The pandemic hit, and I was even more alone. Buildings closed. Everything moved to Zoom. No in-person connection. No physical presence. Just silence. Just isolation. In a world where we are more connected and more accessible than ever before. It baffles me still to this day as I sit here. We seem to be operating in a world where we are not very connected at all. We're living in an existence of social distance, literally 6 feet apart, rather than having real physical connection. Through lived experience, I identified what I call the 4 stages of my divorce. There was the filing and legal process. Number 1. Number 2, the finalization of the divorce. Number 3, the separation and transition to singleness. Number 4, where I am today, living life as a single person. And guess what? I was feeling extremely isolated, vulnerable, and alone during the entire process. I felt a huge void in my spirit. A big gaping hole of a void. The question more often than not, that ghost that haunted me on many days became, what am I going to fill this void with? Do I fill it with food? Do I fill it with drugs? Do I fill it with alcohol? Ah, yes, the more socially acceptable escape. Do I fill it with shopping? Do I fill it with gambling? Do I fill it with sex? Do I fill it with porn? Oh yeah, we grown up in here. Adult porn. Let me make it straight. Gotta be real clear. On these cameras. Dating apps. A series of one night stands. Serial one night standing. just trying to fix your feelings with feelings. Thankfully, I had gotten to a place where I knew that doing any of these things, at least in excess, was not going to help my situation or my daily disposition. It was likely going to make my life worse, no matter what I tried to dive into to fix the feelings. So I did everything in my power to what? Feel, deal, and heal. This is the core of my channel. Feel, deal, and heal. Endure the feelings and emotions, to go through the growing pains with no buffers or suppressants of any kind. But I did succumb to those damn dating apps. I gotta keep it 100 with you. I told myself I was ready. I rationalized it. I justified it. But I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready at all. Not even close. My counselor told me that I needed to spend time alone and work on building a new relationship with myself first. But I didn't listen. At least not initially. My experience with the dating apps, that is a whole nother video. We're going to chop it up. We're going to discuss it one day. We could do an entire series regarding the pros and the cons of online dating after 50. It did serve a good purpose for me. The online dating experience actually shaped who I am currently as an individual today. It helped and redefined it. My current prerequisites, requisites, standards, criteria, and boundaries in relation to forming and maintaining relationships as a whole, whether it's family, friendships, or prospective romantic partners. It also solidified why I decided to choose never to remarry again. If you did not see my last videos, please go back and watch my videos entitled 5 Reasons Why I Will Never Marry Again After 50. They provided great insight into why I feel that marriage after 50 is ineffective, at least for me. Today, I am in stage 4 of my process, living life as a happy, healthy, and whole single person. Single as a dollar bill. Single. Not single with entanglements. Not single with friends with benefits. Not single, it's complicated stuff. Single as a dollar bill. Single. Single and celibate. It has been liberating. It has been enlightening. It has been empowering. It has been edifying. And it took a while to wave the white flag of surrender to get to this place. I have been in relationships in one capacity or another since I was 16 years old. I never knew what it was to be alone. That's the reason why I got in the relationship jackpots that I found myself in, because as a man, being able to admit to myself that I had fears, doubts, insecurities, and inadequacies regarding my fear of being alone. And once I got over that hurdle regarding my fear of being alone, and I was willing to do the work of finding out who I am really, willing to do the work to get here. It has been a year and a half, really, of being uber consistent. I've done work, but this work of individuation, this individuation journey has been a whole nother level. I have done the external work that all of the experts suggest. You know what, if you watch the videos, you read the self-help books and everything, I've done all the external work over the last 5 years. I worked on my body. I hit the gym. I redesigned my home. I gave the crib a whole makeover. I feng shuied it out. I updated my wardrobe. I found new activities. I worked on my finances. And all of that work did matter. But here is the work that no one really talks about. This is the work that I don't hear much of from any therapists, any ministers, any relationship coaches, or any motivational speakers. And folks, I am all of those things and none of those things. I'm just a dude that earned my gray hairs. It has a whole lot of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding through my life experience. Experience is the greatest teacher. That's what I got. That's what I have to give. My life experience. What no one prepares you for is the inner work required to become holistically whole. And I don't mean whole again, because that would imply that I was whole to begin with. I really wasn't whole as a person, ever. I never fully knew who I was, independent of the woman I had been with in one capacity or another for 30 years. And that realization changed everything for me. It changed my whole life perspective. And that is where the real work began. As the youngins would say, there's levels to this. So in part 2, I'm going to talk about the inside work. It is an inside job. Becoming holistically whole. Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially. That is the work that folks don't see. The work no one sees. The work that doesn't get any likes or clicks. The work that doesn't go viral. The work that is done even when no one is looking. The work that isn't very cosmetic. This is the work that determines whether you carry the same toxic patterns into another relationship, or finally you interrupt the toxic cycles altogether. Because during and after divorce, nobody is coming to save you. For this major setback can be a major setup for a major comeback if you are truly willing to do the work. So, continue being the best version of yourself today, and then doing the work to get even better tomorrow. Feel, deal, heal, protect your peace. This is GBIC Relationship University, the Relationship Problems channel, where we find relationship solutions and get better together. Be blessed, everyone.